All right, I'll call to order the Murray City Planning Commission meeting for Thursday, May 1st, 2025. It's 6:30 p.m. Present tonight are Commissioners Ned Hacker, Aaron Hildreth, Jake Pearson, myself, Michael Richards, Pete Haristo, Peter Kling, Katie Rogers, and from staff we have there at the end David Rogers, Ruth Ruock, and Zach Smallwood here. Reminders, if you have a cell phone, please silence it. This meeting is being recorded for public record. So thank you for being here tonight. We're grateful to have you here and participate. Just a couple etiquette items. When the time comes to make a comment on an agenda item, we ask that you speak at the microphone for the recording, and we ask that you state your name and your address. And that's for the minutes. Please limit your time to 3 minutes. I'll have a timer, and at the end of 3 minutes, I'll let you know. Once the item you are here for is over, you're welcome to leave. We just ask that you do so quietly so we can continue with our remaining items. Yeah. Thank you. If you're viewing this meeting online on the live stream, the only way to make a public comment is to email the Planning Commission at murray.utah.gov. Unfortunately, if you post a comment on Facebook or YouTube, it will not be seen. So tonight we have a few agenda items. There's one agenda item that is withdrawn, number 6. So we won't be reviewing that tonight. The first agenda item is the approval of minutes. Has everyone had a chance, or I'm sorry, the approval, there are no minutes. I did it again. So we're not going to approve the minutes because there aren't any minutes. So we'll move on to the second agenda item, which is conflict of interest. Anybody have any conflicts of interest? No. Thank you. Agenda item number 3, approval of findings of fact. Has everyone had an opportunity to review the findings of fact?
Yes.
Yes.
Are there any changes or corrections?
No.
I'll ask for a motion then.
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion that the Planning Commission approve finding of facts and conclusions for the Panera Bread site plan review, Murray Hillcrest Pharmacy site plan review, and the Abington subdivision amendment and extended subdivision review.
Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion from Commissioner Hacker and a second from Commissioner Kling. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, findings of fact have been approved. Moving right along, let's agenda items number 4 and 5 go together. This is the Sound Beginnings. It's for a conditional use permit, and I think David is presenting, or no, David is presenting, yes.
Thank you, Commissioners.
Sorry, is the applicant here? Awesome. Thank you.
So this is Sound Beginnings. It is a major home occupation for preschool music class in a residence, along with a conditional use permit for group instruction with up to 12 participants in the R18 zone, and the property is located at 521 East Vine Street. So it is a 0.21 acre site, so just under a quarter acre, located there. You can see off of Vine Street and Benbow Street. It is in the R18 zone, and the surrounding properties are also in the R18 zone, along with some open space for Murray Park and the golf course nearby. So this is the site plan and floor plan which were provided by the applicant. It shows where the off-street parking will be and what the interior of the home looks like. For parking and access, the applicant anticipates that there will be a maximum of 6 cars per class, with the driver staying for the entire duration of the time. You can see where the driveway is accessed off of Vine Street and where the parking will be located. The applicant is aware that there will be no off-street parking or no on-street parking permitted on Vine Street. All parking for the class must be off-street. So 31 notices were mailed to property owners surrounding the subject property. Staff has received 1 call and 1 email, which was forwarded to all of you, regarding the proposed home occupation. So our findings after an analysis of this application found that the proposed use for a group educational home or preschool is allowed as a conditional use and home occupation business in the R18 zone. With conditions as outlined in the staff report and the applicant's narrative, the proposed music classes will not significantly impact the surrounding neighbors. And with conditions, the proposed use as a major home occupation will not be contrary to the goals and objectives of the Murray City General Plan in this area. So based on our findings and analysis, staff recommends the Planning Commission approve the request for a conditional use permit and major home occupation to allow an at-home preschool with music classes from the residential property addressed at 521 East Vine Street, subject to the conditions as seen on your screen. And just something to point out, generally we would have the conditional use and major home occupation reviewed as two different motions, but we were advised from our director to combine those into one motion. So that's why you're seeing them as they are tonight, and I'm happy to answer any questions that the commission has.
I had a question. Do you feel that 15 minutes is enough time between sessions to get those 6 cars in and out?
Based on the information provided by the applicant, we do feel that that is enough time to get the classes between classes.
So on that point, to clarify, there could be 6 cars that are simultaneously parked in there?
So what's anticipated for this, and I can let the applicant speak on this as well if you would prefer. The applicant has indicated to us that there will be 6 students in the class with 6 parents, which brings the number of participants in each class up to 12. And so the cars would be the parents who are anticipated to stay with the students for the duration of the class, and then the cars would all leave when that class is ended.
And to clarify in the off-street parking, can attendees park on Benbow Street?
So no, all parking as per one of the conditions must occur off the street. It must be located on the property, and the applicant has given us a parking plan that indicates that based on Murray's standard size parking stalls, that they would all be able to fit off the street.
Other questions? Okay. Would the applicant please come to the podium and please state your name and your address?
I'm Heidi Marie Anderson, and I'm at 521 East Vine Street in Murray.
Thank you. Have you had a chance to review the conditions?
I have.
Are you able to comply with them?
Yes.
Thank you. Anything else you want to add?
No.
Okay. Thank you. You can sit down. We'll now open up the meeting for public comment. If you want to make a public comment, please come to the podium, and as I mentioned, please state your name and your address.
Hello, my name is Susan Carroll. I live on Benbow Street. I was, raised there and then moved across the country, the West Coast, East Coast, everywhere in between, and now I'm back. I quite am excited by this. I was a school teacher before I retired, and I know how important music is to children's brain development and for their emotional development. And a lot of children don't get that. If their parents don't sing, they don't learn how to sing. And it really is important for their brains and their social development. I am excited about this. I've known Heidi for a very long time. She's extremely talented and very good with children. So I'm just giving a big vote. Yes, I'm excited about this, and will be telling all my friends who have little kids. Thank you.
Thank you.
Colby Jakeman, address is 852 West Swinley Drive. I'm here on behalf of my brother, who I think had sent an email. I used to own the house at 521 East. I do not think that 6 cars will ever fit in that driveway. Like I said, I used to live there. If someone had an F-250 or a 150 back-to-back, you're not fitting another third car on that parking. I just don't believe that will happen. Also, speaking for my brother in the sense of, he sometimes works from home, and his office is just on the back line of the Vine Street. I don't know if you could pull up the picture. When we owned the house, we subdivided that so my brother could build that house in the back. The east side, that back fence is, right there is in the front of the house. So right there is the front door. So just west of that is his office where it sits. And if you open up that window, those yards are so close together, you could hear anything and everything that's going on. I send my kid to a school for music, and they do that at On Track Music. It's on 9th East. And they do that after hours, so the music does not bother the businesses. And I don't think being in a home where you could potentially have some kids playing music, which I don't disagree, I like the idea, but I just don't think it's for this residential spot. I think it would impact other people around, and then just for the resale value of especially my brother's home and or the Viscerelli's on the other side, knowing that it's a school, kids are going to be parking there, there's going to be a lot of parking, cars in and out, just don't like the idea. And then my last point, and it's nothing to bring up personally, but that yard is never maintained. It used to be a beautiful yard, and now it's just dirt and has been dirt for a very long time. And if they're not willing to take care of the outside of the house, and if you have preschool kids and you take a break and you go outside, you're gonna play in the dirt. I just would like to see, if it goes forward, that the outside of the house be more well-maintained. So I think that's about all I have. Again, speaking on behalf of my brother, and I think when I lived in that house, 2 cars came through my driveway because the way that it bends, 2 drunk drivers on occasion, and you could, I'm sure I could find the dates and get you police records. 2 cars at excessive speeds rolled through my yard on 2 different occasions, and they came blowing through. Vine Street is traveled at high speeds. You see cars speeding there all the time, even when I lived on that corner. So I just don't, safety-wise, again, if you have little kids running out, people travel fast on Vine Street. So, anything else that I may have missed?
It's not easy to get back out onto a busy street.
Yeah, backing out is a problem, and then, like I said, I don't believe you'll fit 6 cars there just from living there.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Zach, do we have any emails? Okay. All right, seeing no additional public comment, I'll close the public comment period. Is there additional discussion amongst the commissioners?
Question, is the applicant currently and is required to live there for this business, right? Okay.
Yes, that's correct.
I have a question, David. Can you pull up the site map that shows the residence and the parking, the lot itself? Yeah, okay. Is that area that's not, or that is landscaped in front of the house, that beige gray, area to the north, could that be utilized as parking?
Our code states that for a single-family home, the parking would have to be fully paved. It would have to be, it has to be fully designated as parking. So we wouldn't anticipate with the way that that's shaped and where it is on the lot that would be able to be used for parking.
If a portion of it had been or is paved, they could use some of that, and that would be an appropriate utilization. Is that what you're saying?
So on this one, I'll just,
Okay.
because I've had way too much experience in the code. So on corner lots, it would have to be in the rear yard area. So it would have to be behind that fence. that fence area, they would have to get a new access down that way, and it would have to lead to either a garage or some other structure. We don't allow parking in the corner side yard area.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
What's the applicant stated as the hours of the business when the classes would be?
Classes are anticipated to go from 9 a.m. until noon.
And that's it, right?
Correct, and that is
Tuesday,
designated as a
Wednesday,
condition.
Thursday, right? I think that was also,
We put a condition that, yeah, they must occur between those designated times.
And is that, how many days a week would that be?
I think
well, I
it's
just
like
read in
Tuesday,
the-
Wednesday,
Yeah,
Thursday.
Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday.
Okay, but basically, it's just a morning, even if it's 5 days a week?
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
I just had a quick point of clarification. You had mentioned something about the noise, your buildings being close. If I'm looking at this right, it looks like the classes will occur in the living room, which is on the far end of the main building, correct? Okay. And do you know how tall that fence is? Is that, I don't know if it even matters.
The backyard fence is just a standard 8-foot vinyl fence. But yeah, my brother's house sits a little bit higher. So it looks, I mean, you can look down on the backyard out of their office.
I think it's worth pointing out that, I mean, we have sound ordinances, and so if there's a sound issue and they are against the ordinance, then you could, complain about that, and there could be something done with it. But, even without a school next door, you could have an annoying neighbor that plays their music too loud, right? So the school in and of itself is, I don't think it's going to be crazy loud like someone with a rock band in their garage. And if it does, then if it's against the ordinance, then you could always complain about that.
David, are you able to address any of the other concerns that were mentioned, or I think we've covered most of it.
One concern that I'll mention is that a home occupation does not have the same landscaping requirements that a commercial business would. So as part of a commercial business, we can ask them to comply with our landscaping code, but the same is not applicable to a home occupation. However, in the report, staff did mention that they would work with the property owner to make sure that the yard was landscaped to residential standards. But that's not something that we can require as part of this application.
Thank you. Any other discussion? Okay. I'll ask for a motion then.
Chair, I make a motion to approve the request for a conditional use permit and major home occupation to allow an at-home preschool with music classes from the residential property addressed 521 East Vine Street, subject to the following 7 conditions.
I'll second.
Thank you. So I have a motion from Commissioner Kling and, and a second from Commissioner Haristo. Any discussion on the motion? Let's take a roll call vote.
Okay, Commissioner Kling.
Aye.
Commissioner Haristo.
Yes.
Commissioner Rogers.
Yes.
Commissioner Hildreth.
Yes.
Commissioner Pearson.
Yes.
Commissioner Hacker.
Yes.
And Chair Richards.
Yes. Congratulations, the motion is passed. All right, let's move on to agenda item number 6. Actually, this is the one we are not doing because it withdrew. Agenda item number 7, Paris RV. Is the applicant here? Thank you. And it looks like Ruth is presenting.
Thank you, Commissioner. So here's a request from Paris RV to amend their conditional use permit to allow the expansion of RV sales and storage at the property at 4338 South State Street. Here's the location of the site. There's an existing building on the property which belongs to the applicant that will be torn down and replaced with RVs. The site is zoned CD, and it's in a cluster of other parcels that also sell and store RVs. So along with the existing building being removed, the access on State Street will also be removed, and so the property will then be accessed from Edison Avenue. And although the RVs can be parked in any way, staff recommends that a 20-foot access be maintained on the property as shown in this picture. Here's the demo plan, and here's the site plan and landscaping plan. Most of the requirements are already met, but the applicant will be required to install additional landscaping along Edison Avenue. And notices of this item were mailed out, and staff hasn't received any comments. So staff finds that the proposed use for the sale and storage of RVs is allowed in the CD zoning district, and with conditions, the proposed use and property will comply with the standards of the Murray City Land Use Ordinance. And the proposed use is not contrary to the goals and objectives of the Murray City General Plan in this area. And so with that, staff recommends that the Planning Commission approve the conditional use permit amendment to allow the sale and storage of RVs at 4338 South State Street, subject to these 6 conditions. And that's all I have for you.
Thank you. Questions for staff? Okay, seeing no questions, can the applicant please come to the podium and state your name and your address?
My name is Mike Zaffino, and I live at 12658 South, 300 East in Draper.
Thank you. Have you had a chance to read all the conditions?
I have.
And are you able to comply with them?
Absolutely.
Thank you. Anything else you'd like to add?
Nope. Thank you.
Awesome, thanks. Okay, I'll open up the meeting for public comment. No emails? Okay, seeing none, I'll close the public comment. Is there any discussion amongst the commissioners?
I was just curious, how long has the Paris RV been in Murray, and how many times has it expanded?
I don't know the exact date when they started here, but I can say probably 4 times since I've been here. There used to be the old cannery building to the west. They expanded over there to the north. It used to be a bunch of little buildings. They turned that into their kind of repair area. And then they purchased another little office building further to the west, to the north. Yeah, there's been a lot. Yeah.
Additional discussion? Okay, I'll ask for a motion.
Chair, I'll motion that the Planning Commission approve the conditional use permit amendment to allow the sale and storage of RVs at the property addressed at 4338 South State Street, subject to the following 6 conditions.
Do I have a second?
Yes, I second the motion.
Thank you. I have a motion from Katie Rogers and a second from Peter Kling. Any discussion on the motion? Let's take a roll call vote.
Commissioner Rogers.
Yes.
Commissioner Kling.
Aye.
Commissioner Hildreth.
Yes.
Commissioner Pearson.
Yes.
Commissioner Hacker.
Yes.
Commissioner Haristo.
Yes.
And Chair Richards.
Yes. Congratulations. Your motion is passed. Thank you. All right, moving right along to our final agenda items, number 8 and 9, Cottonwood Creek Townhomes. Zach is presenting. Oh, no, Zach is not. David is presenting, thank you. Is the applicant here? Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioners. So this is a request for a planned unit development and preliminary subdivision for the properties located at 787 and 825 to 865 East, 4800 South for a 64 townhome development in the RM25 zone. So for some site information, the total site equals just under 4 acres, 3.93, which is sufficient for our PUD code. We need to have at least 2 acres for a planned unit development, and so this site meets that criteria. This site is currently zoned RM25. For the majority of it, you'll notice that the site to the west is actually remaining R18, and that is to be used as the majority of the open space for the development, which is a requirement in our PUD zone to provide designated open space, and so that's what that's going to be. This area to the west, predominantly primary or single-family homes, to the north, commercial, and to the south and the east is RM10, so a little higher, higher impact residential to the southeast there. So this is the map, the plat map that has been provided. The applicant intends to sell these as individual units that will have an HOA. And so the HOA will be responsible for maintaining the roads, the streets that you can see in there, along with all of the open space. Here's the landscaping plan, and specifically we wanted to point out some of the open space amenities that are here. This little brown box will be a playground. This will it's a retention basin that will be used as open space that can be used by residents. And then I'll kind of go a little bit around it. There's this trail that goes around the development that connects into the different parking lots, or sorry, different sidewalks, there we go, that go throughout the development in order to provide access to 4800 South through the entire development. These are the building elevations that are provided. They will all be 3 stories with no basements, and they will be rear loaded. So all of the parking will be accessed through the back of those units. Our code calls for 2.5 stalls per unit, and so there's the 2-car garages along with guest parking scattered throughout the development, and they have met the parking requirements per the code. Here are the front renderings, an idea of what these will look like when they've finished. So notice of this public hearing was sent to 115 property owners for parcels located within 450 feet of the subject property and affected entities. And so affected entities include utility companies, other local governments in the area, so they can see what's going on with this as well. As of the date of this presentation, staff has received several phone calls asking questions. They've asked questions about parking, about open space, and some of them have indicated that they would be here tonight to make comments, so we'll hear from some people during public comment as well. So for our findings, based on an analysis of the conditional use permit for a planned unit development, the Cottonwood Creek Townhome, a review of their preliminary subdivision plans and a survey of the surrounding area, staff has found that with conditions, the proposed subdivision complies with the standards of the Murray City Subdivision Ordinance. The proposed lots comply with the development standards for properties found in chapters 17.124 and 17.60 of the Murray City Land Use Ordinance. The proposed subdivision is in harmony with the purposes of the RM25 zone, representing appropriate residential development, and the proposed subdivision is in harmony with the purpose and intent of the Murray City General Plan, providing additional opportunities for residential development. So based on our analysis and a thorough review of this application, staff recommends the Planning Commission approve the planned unit development and grant preliminary subdivision approval for Cottonwood Creek Townhomes on the properties addressed 825 to 865 and 787 East, 4800 South, subject to the following 9 conditions, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
David, could you go back to the map, the site map, the colored one that you have?
Yeah, the landscaping plan.
Yeah, so I'm not sure, along Van Winkle there, would the I guess that's the north. Would that tree line be maintained? That's along the creek there?
So the property to the north is actually owned by Salt Lake City. Let me bring back up the zoning map.
Just behind the buildings, yeah.
So yeah, that will be used as the trail, the little pathway. But anything to the north of that will be maintained as it currently is.
So the existing trees that one sees along Van Winkle would stay there?
You can see on the landscaping plan where that it is anticipated that trees will remain.
Oftentimes, Commissioner Kling, during construction, there might be a tree or two that comes down just by accident. But for the most part, there shouldn't be any disruption of the trees on that northern property.
Other questions for staff? All right, will the applicant please come to the podium?
Hi, John Blocker with Brighton Homes. I reside in Sandy.
Have you had a chance to read the 9 conditions?
Yeah.
Are you able to comply with them?
Yes.
Thank you. Is there anything else you'd like to provide?
No, we're excited about this development. If you have any questions, happy to answer.
Thank you.
We have some questions. Stay there. Can you bring up that other map, Dave? So you're getting rid of one of the entrances. So this map is probably a good one. When I was looking, I couldn't detect whether the deceleration lane, right-in lane was maintained. There's one there today, and the acceleration lane turning right out of the property. Are those two being maintained?
Yeah, so so Trey Stokes, the city engineer, is very aware of the traffic impact of this site. And so we were just planning to work with him on approvals of those. I believe so, yes. But I don't know if Zach has more detailed information.
No, yeah, it looks like it's being maintained just as is.
I don't believe we can change those unless required, because it's outside of our property boundary.
Okay. Well, I asked the same question that Peter asked, and that was about maintaining more of the trees that are on the property.
Sure. Yeah, we tried to depict that here in this landscape plan. If you're familiar with the site much, the trees within our property boundary, just based on basement overdigs and other site development, if we invade roots of those trees and they don't look like they'll survive and their liability, we'll remove them. But we tried to depict in here clearly what trees we plan to maintain, and then obviously everything outside of that north boundary line, we can't touch that area at all unless there's some off-site improvement
So
or something.
that white space is the Salt Lake City owns that? Is
Correct.
Yes.
No, yes, what is it?
Yes.
Okay.
Correct.
Yeah, because it offers a buffer between the traffic noise from Van Winkle to that area, right?
It's a wonderful amenity for the residents and for any passerbyers too. So we can't change it, and we fully intend to enjoy it.
So we were talking about this earlier. So I live along 48 South.
Sure.
We've had a lot of development in there in terms of PUDs, single family and so on. And I've expressed some concerns about the impact of the additional traffic volume. I recognize that the office has been sort of underutilized, the current, and therefore hasn't been to the capacity that the previous zoning would allow. This obviously is going to change the dynamic of that, and this is perhaps out of the purview of what you is thinking about or planning, but I've expressed, or I wanted to express publicly my concern with the blind, sort of the blind curve that you get coming off of Van Winkle, and the additional impact of the volume of traffic coming in and out of there now with full-time residents 7 days a week. And I would just caution that, and I know there's a traffic study that's been done, but not sure that that adequately addresses the full impact of the reality of what's going to happen there, and would encourage any sort of mitigation from either the city or the developer to consider making sure that deceleration, acceleration lane is still intact, and that anything can be done, as far as a bike lane and so on, because right kitty corner to that is the Miller Estates, which also has a lot of volume of traffic coming in and out, in addition to delivery trucks and so on. So that's not really a question as much as a comment I wanted to put on the record.
Yeah, noted, for sure.
Thank you. I just want to state that I agree with that. I travel that road a lot, and I think the city should take another look at other mitigating things they can do to dampen the traffic.
Come a long way.
From, when was the last time you were here, or the first time you were here? A couple of years ago. Anyway, I like what you've done.
Yeah, I think this is going to be a great option for people for fee simple homes, and by far more affordable than other new construction going up in the area. So I hope the residents really enjoy this area.
I want to add, I like the project and the design. And I don't even mind density per se, but when I think about 2.5 cars per unit, that's a lot of volume coming in and out. And I know it's within code and so on, but it's still, in reality, going to offer a lot of inflow and outflow from your project there into 48 South, which is already fairly crowded. Aside from residents, there's a lot of non-resident through traffic that occurs there. So,
maybe one note: these are fairly small units. The intent was to keep the square footage down on them. I don't think you're going to get masses of families or multi-family households living in each unit, like you may a larger home. So it is a lot of units, but they are pretty small. So I think about 1,500 square feet.
So on that point, what do you think the target demographic is for the owners?
I think there's a large pent-up pool of people looking to buy homes in the area, especially near places where they work, and they're sick of driving super far across Bangor and everywhere else. And I think it's going to alleviate congestion in a lot of other places. And I think that's going to be the primary target, is working individuals that live in the area and would like to live closer to work. People's kids that grew up here that can't afford to move back and move into an R18 neighborhood, they can live close to mom and dad and afford to live here.
I had a quick question about those two homes labeled Lot 101 and the parcel right there. I'm assuming those two houses are going to stay. Is there going to be like a fence or something? I can't quite tell from the satellite view here, just covered in trees, but is there like anything dividing those lots?
Yeah, so the parcel in the middle there, we have no ownership over. It's fairly well fenced from what I can tell, and maintained. The parcel to the west, we will own, and the plan is to subdivide it and sell it and maintain it as a single-family lot, because it's worth a lot more than trying to tear it down and redevelop it in its current state. Hopefully, it does go through some rehab with the new owner, but it's worth more than the land underneath it. So.
Okay, thank you.
And yes, we are planning on putting a fence in behind it. There's some fairly good topo behind that lot, and so it actually ends up being a reasonable spot to subdivide it, where it's a usable lot at that point.
Okay. Thank you. You can go ahead and have a seat, and we'll open up the meeting for public comment. And just a reminder, please state your name and your address.
Sure, I'm Rob Benedict. I live at 4797 Alicia Parkway, which is just to the west behind them in the middle ground. So first of all, I want to say thank you for leaving the buffer zone. I know it wasn't out of anybody's generosity of their heart, and it was a long battle. Like Ned said, we've been here for a long time, but I do appreciate it. I had a question on the fence. I don't know if I can address questions to you, or you can give me a number.
You address them to us, and then we'll take them.
We'd worked with Lotus, and Lotus was going to replace the fence on the west side. I don't know if Brighton is party to that or not, so that was one question. Another question was about the pond, whether you'd leave the pond or not, or do something else. And then the third issue is there's a retaining wall that our 3 houses are on, and I just want to make sure that the construction doesn't, damage the retaining walls and damage our foundations.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Zach, I think we had one that we needed to read in.
We do, yes. So I will just read that. So this is from Maren Christensen, writing in on behalf of 4800 Murray LLC, as I could not be in person to speak more about this. This project is far too dense for the area. I maintain great concern about the level of density in this project. I also mourn the loss of all the mature trees that have been in the area for years. I have ongoing concerns about the amount of traffic on an already busy street and worry about accidents. This curve is not easy to see around, and people tend to speed on this street. I have heard and seen multiple accidents in front of the property. It is fed by and feeds into busy Van Winkle. There seems to be nothing I can do about this project, but it feels unfair that our property will lose the view of the mountains from several rooms, the front porch, peace, and privacy. We get no concessions out of this and will inherit years of noise and complete change to the neighborhood. It will create an increase of trouble pulling out of not only our driveway, but the driveway of neighbors. There's also a school bus stop right in front of our property. I am not someone who opposes housing, and that's not what I'm trying to do here, but this is too big for this area. Less density and keeping more trees all around would be appropriate. I am extremely in favor of more chances for ownership in the valley, but it must be at a reasonable price. Please do not allow these if they are not affordable for the average person in the area. Thank you, Maren Christensen.
Thank you. Doesn't look like we have any other public comment, so I'll close the public comment and ask David to address the questions about the fence, the pond, and the retaining wall, if you're able to.
I don't have the answers to those questions, but if the applicant would like to come back to the
Send
front.
the applicant come.
John Blocker again with Brighton Homes. Yeah, Lotus was really concerned about the fence specifically. They made it very clear to us that we needed to install it because they've made prior obligations, and that was a condition of going under contract with them. And so they have tried to make whole on all their promises. They've actually been extremely adamant about a lot of them. So I'm sure many people appreciate that. As far as retaining, I don't expect us to be intruding at all in anything that would affect their site retaining because we're not making improvements. A lot of that fence line area, minus installing the fence itself, we'd like to keep as fairly natural open space, except for the detention pond that's required by the city for the stormwater management, and the tot lot, which is closer to our development. And so I don't anticipate any regrading of anything near their properties whatsoever. I think you could find that in the grading plans as well. And that's something that Trey's gonna work with us on final approvals as well on. Was there another item?
So the pond question, there's an existing pond, is that right?
So there's an existing impromptu, so there's like there's lots of natural spring pines, and a ton of dewatering that has gone on in this site that just flows directly into the river. And where our detention basin's currently located, that a portion of that area will encompass that existing pond. We do not plan to have standing water on the site for mosquito abatement and other things. It becomes pretty complicated to achieve that for an HOA. It's not really fair to get them to maintain it. They have a lot of other things to worry about, so we were not planning on keeping it, no.
Yeah. I think that was it.
I had a quick question.
Other questions, yeah?
To address the email's concern, do you have a ballpark what these units will go for? I know you can't predict the future, but.
At this time, no, they'll probably be going to, the comparable analysis that we did, they'll be similar to other three-story townhomes in the area. Since they are a little bit smaller, we're hoping, basically the market competition that we analyzed, we're on the bottom end of it for three-story townhomes. But I don't have a price point. That will be up to the partners and the sales agents. We sell things that we think the market can absorb, and we tend to be more conservative, but there is a pretty big shortage of housing, so it just depends on how many people are interested. I think that has more to do with it than anything.
Will this be a phased development? Over what period of time?
Potentially. So the reason I say potentially is it is a reasonable amount of units. It's much more efficient to just do it all. But I think there's a phasing line somewhere, and it might be that black line even in the landscaping.
I see.
Yeah. We put that in the application to be transparent. If there's a lot of volatility in the market right now, so there's less exposure to phase development than to carry all the cost of the improvements. And so that's a plan B, but I really don't know we'd prefer to just build it all.
When do you anticipate breaking ground?
So we have existing tenants and existing leases that we have to maintain. And so when those leases expire or people move out, we plan to break ground right after that. So
is that the next year or so or longer?
The idea would be to pave this year.
Next year?
This year.
This year, okay.
Before paving season's over. But we have a lot of things to get through, so we'll see.
And Commissioner Kling, so this approval, the preliminary approval is only good for 1 year before, so they would have to do something or come back for an extension.
Yeah, we fully intend to go on it and try to keep our involvement in construction to a narrow time frame. It's by far more beneficial to us to do that, so.
Thank you. Other questions? Awesome. Thank you. Additional discussion amongst the commissioners? No. Okay, if there isn't any additional discussion, I'll ask for a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that the Planning Commission approve the planning unit development and grant preliminary subdivision approval for Cottonwood Creek Townhouses on the properties addressed 825 through 865 and property address 787 East, 4800 South, subject to the conditions on the screen there, 1 through 9.
Thank you. I have a motion from Commissioner Hacker. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you. I have a second from Commissioner Rogers. Any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, let's take a roll call vote. David?
Commissioner Hacker.
Yes.
Commissioner Rogers.
Yes.
Commissioner Hildreth.
Yes.
Commissioner Pearson.
Yes.
Commissioner Haristo.
Yes.
Commissioner Kling.
No.
Chair Richards.
Yes. Congratulations, your motion is passed. Good luck. All right, that brings our agenda to a close. Do we have any announcements or other questions?
We will have a small meeting on the 15th, so if you could let me know when you know if you're not going to be able to be there, that'd be super helpful. But other than that, I kind of mentioned in the pre-meeting, but we have the open house for the Murray Museum tomorrow. So that's going to be fun. The next few months in Murray, I think, are going to be fun. We have the whole Love Murray campaign, which I was going to try to get Erica here to do a presentation on it, but our agendas got full, and then now she's busy running a whole campaign, opening up three venues in the city. So, yeah, that's about it. Yeah, the block party and the open house, for sure, yes.
I have a question for staff. So, month ago, Wasatch Front Regional Council asked the cities, all of the cities in the region, to comment on a workshop that we had that we provided input to them regarding basically a long-range plan. Pretty much longer than long-range 50-year plan, basically. So I'm wondering if the city's done that, or if Planning Commission's going to look at that, perhaps in a work session or in our regular meeting, and provide comments.
Yeah, we did we did review it and provided any comments that looked out of place. So what that really had us do was make sure there weren't anything missing from that outreach meeting. And then if there was anything that overall that the WFRC was missing as far as centers are concerned and things like that. And we did go through it pretty in detail and make sure it was matching up. So,
Great. Thank you.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you, commissioners, and thank you, Zach, Ruth, and David. Do we have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn at 7:23.
Okay, we are adjourned at 7:23.